Welcome to Football 301's first ever live stream, a super live stream for a Super Bowl. It's the fifth quarter. It's our last Sunday live show of the 2024 season. And it went out, I want to say it went out with a bang, but it kind of felt like a 40-burger whimper. But it was still the Super Bowl. It was the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, their second in franchise history, beating the Chiefs very handily. But we are going to be recapping it today on Football 301. I am Nate Tice. Joining me for this Sunday live stream, joining me for the fifth quarter is my guy, Matt Harmon. How you doing today, Matt? I feel I'm missing you. The distance does not feel right. I got spoiled this last week in New Orleans. But how you doing today? How did you enjoy that blowout by the bleeding green Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I feel actually much more comfortable in my little box here. All that social interaction, outside time, enough of that. No, I did enjoy it. Enjoyed the hell out of this week leading up to it. And the Super Bowl, man, I don't even know where to start. There's so much to get into from what was an obvious blowout. And Nate, I'm actually curious before we jump into this, when was your first sort of moment for Kansas City?
When the Chiefs did not score on their opening drive. That was my first. Yes. And I came across a stat, even while I was preparing my props article, that the Chiefs had scored 7 of 8 opening drives against Vic Fangio since Patrick Mahomes took over as starting quarterback. And then when they got that first down, I was like, okay, there it goes. There it goes. And then they got stifled. And then the Eagles scored. And then Chiefs did not score again. And then they got a pick. And then they did not score again. Didn't even get a first down. I believe they only got one first down the first half, and it was their first play of the game. And so that was, so when that first drive did not continue on and to anything, that's when I was like, oh, Vic Fangio gets paid a lot of money. And Vic Fangio is very good, and this Eagles defense is very good. So then is right when I consider that. What about you? Was it a little bit later, a little bit earlier, somewhere around then?
It was definitely later than that. I feel like I can't pinpoint a specific moment or a specific drive, but when we get to a point where, you're actually kind of reflecting on all the analysis leading up to the week, which to me, if I wanted to give it a tagline was, well, one team is much more talented and from 2 to 53 has better players. The other team has the better quarterback. And I think, again, I can't find a specific moment in the game necessarily, but it was how frazzled Mahomes felt. And to me, it felt as at times he was almost stepping into pressure. I'm not saying that he was causing pressures. Obviously they were just getting whooped up front. And man, that's football. You get whooped up front, you get dominated at the line of scrimmage, and also sneaky when your receivers get dominated at the line of scrimmage outside against press coverage. You're going to lose football games, right? It doesn't really matter who you have at quarterback there, even if this is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, even if he is at the peak of his powers right now. It doesn't matter. The other team is just overwhelmingly more talented than you. And really, once we started to see that, I think Mahomes start to feel frazzled within the moment. That's where I started to think we're not going to get to a scenario here where I'm starting to think of are we about to see another 20? I don't really, I can't pinpoint back to the Brady Falcons Super Bowl, things like that, 28-3. When was the moment right? Yeah. When was the moment where I thought okay, actually the Patriots are coming back in this bad boy. But there never was a moment really where I felt all right, the Chiefs are going to get back into this. Cause tell me, I was watching the Super Bowl with my wife, and she said, can the Chiefs come back in this? I'm not actually asking you to lay out the game plan here, but tell me how it happens. I just didn't see a scenario there.
No, in the first half, the stats were just, it felt like this. It was one of those where I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly how it felt. Patrick Mahomes was pressured at a higher rate than his completion percentage. 47.1% pressure rate in the first half, 8 quarterback pressures on 17 dropbacks, and he had a 42.9% completion percentage. That's just absurd. Not only just any quarterback, but that's Patrick Mahomes. And on top of it, they couldn't run the ball. And that was something I thought that maybe they would have some efficiency there. It wouldn't be overly exotic or overly great, but I thought they would at least, stay ahead of the chains and everything. But it was they had nothing. Everybody was winning. And it wasn't even interior pressure where I thought, Milton Williams got his and everything. But Josh Sweat and Nolan Smith each had 4 quarterback pressures each in the first half. It was an absurd performance from this Eagles defense. And I thought the Chiefs offensive line, yes, they got overwhelmed, but it felt to me that the Chiefs really had no real answers. They looked like they were going quick game, which was interesting. I thought early in the first half, which was they were trying to get rid of the ball quick, which is one of the answers you can do when you think you have an offensive line disadvantage is get rid of the ball quick. And that felt like it got snuffed out because the Eagles pass coverage was so good. And that's something we talked about last week was just how good they were attacking stuff underneath, how good they were tackling. Some awesome tackling in this game, by the way, on both teams. So thank God we talked about that 100 times because it was, I mean, and honestly, I thought the Chiefs defense did their job. I know they just gave up a 40 burger, but they did their job. They stifled the Eagles run game. They had sub 20% rushing success rate on this game, but it just really felt to me, it starts with the offensive line, and which was a weakness. And this was a heart versus head kind of thing where it was like, well, yeah, the Eagles pass rush got some good players. You know, Nolan Smith's coming around, Josh Sweat's doing some nice things, but I thought it was going to be Milton Williams and Jalen Carter doing all the damage against Mike Caliendo, maybe Trey Smith, but it was all the twists, the games, which the Eagles did not have to blitz. They could just rush for and they create pressure, consistent pressure. And that adds up over time. When you can rush for and do that and just do that by running games, which is twists and guys going inverting TEs, ETs, whatever you want to call them. Whenever they were just doing that and the fact that they were running those and creating pressure after pressure after pressure without having to bring any exotic calls, that it's impossible to win that way, like as an offense. And I just credit to Vic Fangio. I made a joke tweet that saying like Howie Roseman should be minus 1,000 to win Super Bowl MVP because it was Cooper DeJean getting an interception, Zach Bond getting an interception, AJ Brown catching a touchdown, Saquon Barkley doing some stuff, just one thing after another. And then I thought Jalen Hurts as a thrower, you know, he was okay. Broke out of contain, but I thought as a runner, as a scrambler, he was excellent tonight. I thought that he was, not doing the hang, 5-4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi. He was not, if that first read was open, he planted foot and went. And even when the Chiefs had good protection or good coverage calls against that, found answers and got north and everything. So Jalen Hurts just came across, won Super Bowl MVP. Dude, that's how it goes. I didn't know, like, honestly, I wanted to ask you if anyone came to mind about winning Super Bowl MVP, because to me, it was kind of like, can I give it to a coach? Can I give it to a personnel member? Can I give it to a unit, like the whole pass rush unit? Maybe Milton Williams gets it or Josh Sweat or something. Who was your like first blush, maybe your Super Bowl MVP as Jalen Hurts wins? I don't want to take anything away, but the quarterbacks kind of always get a nod here.
Yeah, I almost kind of want to like save Jalen Hurts for a second because I do have a lot of thoughts on him. But I think there was, again, early on in this game, I thought to myself, like, we're gonna get in a situation where we just might have to, not have to, but they're just going to give this thing to the quarterback because there's almost too many defensive players making an impact here. I was like, I think Josh Sweat, especially in the first half, really just like affected so many critical downs and distances. And I'm glad you brought it up that obviously, like, I don't think he was blitzed at all tonight. Was Patrick Mahomes? They never blitzed in this game, according to Next Gen Stats, at least what I'm seeing right now. And
I think you're right.
Like, Zero blitzes in this game, but it wasn't just like, our front four is just, running straight downhill at Patrick Mahomes. There were so many like twists and stunts and games and things like that. And like that really made it difficult for him to the point where, I can sit here and say, again, easy to say this from my mildly comfortable little office chair here. Patrick Mahomes like just stepping into pressure. Well, yeah, it's tough when you're getting whooped on the tackles and then you're also having these guys twist to the inside like that. There was no pocket to step up into. So there was just really like no answers here for Kansas City. And I do bring it back to some of the, like, this was the pain point of this passing game. It was the protection for sure. But yeah, like you can't run quick game unless you're doing so much to free one guy up and Xavier Worthy. Like we'll talk about what the Chiefs need here, but man, this would have been really nice to have a receiver who could just line up against physical coverage on the outside and get open quickly. And it, like, to me, I thought that was lacking for Kansas City tonight.
We talked about when I rewatched that Dolphins game from week 9 last year when Fangio was a defense coordinator. And then my first thought was, man, Rashee Rice is good. man,
Yeah.
the Chiefs could sure use a Rashee Rice, someone that's as big as DeAndre Hopkins, and I will say has the same play speed as Xavier Worthy. There was the first couple third downs that the Chiefs had, and this is just the genius of Vic Fangio. It's nothing exotic. It's just simple disguises off base looks. The very first third down was 3rd and 9, which also turned Patrick Mahomes back into Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes. When you see Patrick Mahomes doing the whirly bird, that's not a good thing.
Or that like deep split thing, like that, like the constantly, like, I mean, the split was on there, Nate Tice.
The split, I know he's flexible, but I don't always want to see him look like Shawn Michaels doing the flex.
Yeah.
No. So on that first one, the Chiefs kept getting to empty, which I thought was interesting. I always like looking like, okay, what's your little, and what they were doing was they would shift the running back into the backfield. And that's a classic man zone indicator. If it's a linebacker that walks out with him, okay, typically that's going to be man coverage. If it's somebody else, okay, it's going to be zone coverage because the corner bumps out. It was so interesting on that first 3rd and 9. They ran, Reed Blankenship ran out with the running back outside. I was like, huh, okay. Even when I was watching it, I was like, huh, okay, man, maybe Tom Brady will break this one down. He didn't. All right, so the running back moves back into the backfield. And I thought he was. I was like, okay, because this is a classic. Yeah, he had to throw passes to Rob Gronkowski on Bourbon Street. Oh my God, Bourbon Street was nuts. But the safety moves back way into the as a deep safety, and they're showing a too high shell, and they ran one robber with it, and it was a nice. It's just a simple little disguise here, but because that was a little wonky. If I were a quarterback and the running back split out and the safety went out with them, I'd be like, is that blitz look? Like, I actually would kind of be like, what are you guys doing here? And they ran one robber where Blankenship ended up being the robber player over the middle, and a running back bumped out, or I'm sorry, a linebacker bumped out with a running back. And I was like, it was just a simple little twist. They didn't give the initial indicator, like Zach Bond should have ran out with a running back. And I want to bring that up. It's just little details, because as a quarterback, that's what you look for. All right, who's on the running back right now? Linebacker? Man. Safety? Why is the safety out there? And I just thought that was cool, because it was like Vic Fangio going like, I know what you guys are going to do against us. All right, we're going to make it a little confusing on you guys. And then on the 3rd and 3, the next drive, Xavier Worthy's in the backfield and does a little quick motion. And why you put a receiver in the backfield is not only to design a play for him and maybe, get something really good against him on a good matchup. It's more man zone indicators. If a corner is following the receiver in the backfield and a linebacker is following the running back when he's split out because they're inverted, okay, I know that's a man zone tell. But again, they kind of just mixed it up a little bit. It was zone. Chiefs ran a mesh return, which is fake crossers. They went back out, and there's Worthy running a wheel route. And this is kind of why me and you maybe are a little lower on Worthy. He has no separation against Zach Bond. This was exactly what the Chiefs were trying to design. Let's get our 4-2 guy against a linebacker. In theory, this should be phenomenal. And even with a little speed motion, he gets no separation at all. It looks snuffed out. I watched it. And that's why Mahomes glances and goes, oh, shoot. Because they thought that was it. That was a gimme. They thought that was like, it wasn't just getting a first down. That was like, hey, we're catching them here.
Yeah,
and they did. They got the look they wanted. And I don't know. It's just a credit to the Eagles defense, man. All the guys, even when the Chiefs were trying to do the little Andy Reid little twist just to get you in bad spots, it was like, nope. Their guys performed so well that it snuffed it out. So then the Gene pick was a classic. Mahomes breaks contain, and he does the thing that he can get away with, which is throwing late over the middle. And DeGene, so smart, goes, oh, I've seen this before. There he is breaking right, bouncing back inside. Just excellent stuff. That's opponent scouting. And I almost want to go, hey, I spent so much time on Spags and Andy Reid being so good at opponent scouting. What does Vic Fangio do with a bye week? Yeah, get his players freaking going. That's what he did. And I just got to give credit to him all the way, because that's what it looked like today. That's what exactly this performance looked like. And credit to the Eagles, credit to that defense, because that was one of the best performances I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, not only was it, really schemed up and just, you're so right to say, like, they were on it. They were just on everything that Kansas City wants to do. Sometimes I think that there's like a section of people that get on media members for maybe being overly kind of effusive in the praise of Howie Roseman. Well, he just takes like the consensus guys. He just takes the consensus guys that are falling. Well, yeah, like Nate, we talked about, especially you, like I remember you coming on the fantasy show in the offseason talking about like Cooper DeJean is this guy that was just like, man, he fits this team. He can fit this team. He can fit that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were so many teams that he made sense for in the late first round. He falls to the second round. It's just, yeah, let's scoop that thing up. I know we took a DB and that's what I've always really loved about this team's approach to roster construction is, yeah, we hit DB in the first round, right? Like we took Quinyon Mitchell, who probably also fell a little further than people may have projected. Another guy that just, hey, that's a good player that's fallen to the right spot. Let's scoop him up here. Let's take another one. Cooper DeJean was kind of a guy like, all right, is he gonna play safety? Is he gonna play slot corner? We'll figure it out. Doesn't matter. Like by the way, we probably need help at both spots. Like we'll figure that out. No big deal. And he was that play was so just. I mean, you're looking at Mahomes scrambling out of the pocket. You can't see the secondary when you're watching on broadcast. You just think that's gonna be. Yeah, like you said, classic Mahomes, like boot out to the rights, and he's going to hit some kind of dagger downfield. Instead, DeJean's just sitting there ready to pick it off. That was just, to me, a very emblematic moment of just the roster construction and the team building this organization pulls off year by year.
And that's I joked about it, but I'm dead serious. It was like Howie Roseman minus 1,000 Super Bowl MVP because it was just one guy after another that he acquired in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, he acquires everybody; he's a GM. But it was just like it felt like these were the significant flourishes. The AJ Brown trade, the DeJean. I will call it a steal because I thought DeJean should have been a top 20 pick, and I will pound that table again because DeJean to me is he an outside corner? Is he a slot? Is he safety? DB is a lot like offensive line. Get your best 5 out there. So if you get a guy that's good or better at the 3 spots, outside, slot, or safety, get him on my team. Get him in, get him somewhere onto the field because he makes us better. So that's why I just kind of kept coming back to it. It was like, this is a real good player that's adding to a defense that then adds Zach Bond in free agency, and credit to Vic Fangio for finding the path for Zach Bond. So it's kind of cool that those players are the guys making the plays. Milton Williams, who's going to make a whole lot of money in free agency.
I mean, we got a lot of money makers in this game here.
Oh man, he made big money in this game. But that's what his whole season was. It was kind of a culmination of what this Eagles season was all about. Maybe on defense, I should say. And then the offense does enough and is explosive enough. But and even like yeah, there were some penalties earlier. There was the offensive pass interference on AJ Brown. It's like it didn't even matter. It was just like they still had answers. Dotson, they hit John Dotson on the go ball against a blitz, and that was a man blitz. Of course, it was they were catching the man blitzes. Jalen Hurts said zone blitzes did catch him. Brian Cooks, got him on, got him there on the reception.
That first one, I thought of that as soon as that happened.
Trent McDuffie caught the when he got the penalty on Dallas Goedert too. Like that was one. Oh, man, Ron Torbert was letting me pound that gif for a while, for that meme for a little bit. But then I don't know, even out Eagles were the better team. I don't think refs mattered. There was Trent McDuffie running underneath, and he pops Dallas Goedert, and I was like, oh my god, that was literally the play I envisioned this entire week was about to happen there. I couldn't believe it happened so early. But again, it was just like they made those little mistakes. Charles Omenihu offsides on another third down. Like those early mistakes, Chiefs didn't have enough to overcome them. We say that you have to beat the Chiefs and be perfect. Today felt like you had to be perfect to beat the Eagles. And it kind of comes back. It was the heart versus head thing. The Eagles easily had the best team. I don't think anyone was in question about that. It was just the Mahomes, Reed, Specs. Mahomes, Reed, Specs. Maybe Chris Jones if you want to throw it in there. The best team definitely won today. It just felt like that. It was just overwhelming, and that first half was truly felt like it all mattered. And so as the second half started, it was like, oh yeah, this ball game's over. Devontae Smith catches that touchdown in the second half. It felt like it was all over. But for you, like what else kind of stood out in this game? Like maybe either there some sub performers that came out, or maybe just even disappointments. Like I thought Travis Kelce was disappointing today. Not just as a receiver, but as a blocker. I thought there's a couple times they did protections, which was so interesting because I don't know why they were. This is going to be a very interesting game review in the first half, obviously. but it was Kelce and a running back double teaming the edge, which is fine. You can full slide it. Mahomes is kind of doesn't even have a chance to double clutch it. They're getting beat. Kelce has to chip up on another one. It was those back-to-back sacks before the DeJean pick six. And that was really interesting to me. I was like, what's going on with Kelce's blocks? It was like he didn't know he had to hold up. And Kelce's been a better blocker this year. He's not amazing, but he's better. And it was just really those little mistakes just kind of compounded. So what kind of little small moments for you maybe kind of stood out as like, oh man, this is a domino falling for the Chiefs?
DeAndre Hopkins not hauling in like a wide open pass.
What was that?
I know that was where, hey, if there was any sort of discussion about, black magic, whatever, helping the Chiefs. I mean, maybe it's some New Orleans voodoo, it's a very mystical city. But I mean, shoot, when DeAndre Hopkins doesn't bring in a wide open pass like that, something is up. Okay. Mystically, karmically, something is not on your side here. That was definitely a moment that stood out to me. And I'm glad that you brought up just some of the other, like, the backs and protections and things like that, that I thought was an issue. I thought Kelce blocking like on the edge was an issue. And that's one thing that stands out to me as we kind of look forward with Kansas City Chiefs. Like, I think obviously the focus is going to be on the left tackle position, which, Joe Thuney, like, admirable job bouncing out from being like a top 5 guard to maybe average-ish left tackle, average-ish left. I mean, look, any average left tackle is going to go against those Eagles guys and look bad. Period. Right. End of story.
Right. Especially when you have a negative at left guard, you have no help.
Right.
That matters too. When you're when you're on an island,
you're truly on an island. When Caliendo's your left tackle, you are truly on an island there because, like, not only do I think he doesn't necessarily have the play strength to be like a starting guard in the NFL, he consistently is like going to the wrong spots too. Like, I don't want to pick on the guy because he's a backup left guard. Like, it's just tough. But I'm saying all that, like, that's going to be, you didn't just move Joe Thuney and then kick Callie into the starting line and be like, we solved it. That's still a problem over there. But when that's an issue, and Juwan Taylor is also getting crushed on the other side, and that's a guy that you have paid. Like, that's a guy that you gave money to, and really from like the moment go, it didn't ever look like it was going to lead to the returns that you probably thought. That's something that stood out to me. It's just like Kansas City, they're getting by with like duct tape and glue on at premium positions, like wide receiver and at the tackle spots. Like, and that is tough to win a Super Bowl. I don't care who your head coach is and who your quarterback is. It's tough to win a Super Bowl, Nate, when you're piecing together those two units. Not to mention the fact, like, and broadcast is always going to do this, but they're talking about, hey, they got to kind of like run the ball, to sort of just not have the consistent like pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And I kind of sort of get that, but you are not getting a big play from this run game at any point. At any point, this is the 3.5 yard, 3.5 yard, 3.5 yard, 3.5 yard run game, and that was not going to help you come back into this game too. So, like, I Kansas City's got a lot to lay their hat on and feel pretty good about, but big needs on the offensive line, specifically, I think, at both tackle spots. Like, I don't know if Taylor is going to come back next year as a starting right tackle. You got big needs at both tackle spots. You got big needs at wide receiver room, and I think you might need an inflection.
Might be leaving a free agency too at right guard.
Trey Smith might be leading in free agency, so that's another spot. And obviously, like wide receiver, tight end, running back, a lot of things to address here.
There's a lot of spots. You could just say skill position. Like, it's just, I mean, you're hoping Rashee Rice comes back 85% of what he was. Like, I mean,
and he's also got a potential suspension hanging over his head, by the way, too. Like, he's got that.
No game served with that either. And I mean, shoot, and I don't want to pick on the guy because I do think he is a fine player. But you also felt if Trent McDuffie wasn't targeted, Jalen Watson had a rough day today. I mean, just two targets, 2 receptions, 73 yards, and a touchdown. You're going to get remembered. It's not fair to be a corner sometimes, but if you're a pitcher and you hang 2 pitches over the middle, that's what happens. You remember the 2 home runs you got hit for. That was why, that is the circumstances of the Chiefs. L'Jarius Sneed, they had to let go and then they have to start Watson. And yes, they have depth, but he's not L'Jarius Sneed. Even if L'Jarius Sneed has to step back in with the Titans this year, but that's where they're at. So you have corner. Okay. You also have a free agent, and I believe Reed is a free agent at safety. You have maybe an auxiliary pass rusher you maybe need. I do like the pass rush with Chris Jones and Carl Loftus and other guys, but maybe another guy up front. So, okay, so what have we listed up? Left tackle, right guard. Right tackle wasn't great. Pass catcher, period. 2, I would even say.
Yeah.
That's not Juju Smith-Schuster. Thank you for covering the overs in the first 2 drives, by the way, Juju Smith-Schuster's, because that was one of the props I gave. But it was just, that's a lot. That's a lot more than maybe I expect. Like last year after they won the Super Bowl, obviously you feel good after they win. I was like, look at this team. Look at this defense. Look how young they are. Look at all these guys they got. Yeah, they're losing Snead, but they got this, this, and this. Defense still feels good, but last year I felt even better about it. And then now it's like, now Rice was a question mark because of youth last year, but he was showing it. Now it's a question mark because of injuries, which I think is even scarier. So now you're talking so many spots that they have to fill, and it's not like they're, got 40 picks to deal with here. It's not like they're not like how the Eagles kind of are set up with some things. So there are a lot of questions for this Chiefs team, more than you would think. Am I saying, oh yeah, they're going to drop off and miss the playoffs next year? No, but I do think that's like, hey man, this is stuff they have to figure out, because it's too hard. It's too much of a drag to win when you have to try and get through stuff and then try and create explosive plays. It's a lot on your quarterback. It's a lot on your offensive line, because if your running backs aren't making anyone miss, they have to block for 4 yards, so it is just one thing after another. Shoot. And right now, our video staff's listing here, if you're listening on the podcast, free agents right now: Trey Smith, who's going to get a lot of money; Nick Bolton, linebacker; Justin Reed, safety. So that's the spine of the defense. Charles Menhu, who got suspended, injuries and everything, but is a nice auxiliary pass rusher. Hollywood Brown was their free agent signing. Didn't really do much today. DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Watson, the kind of steady Eddie. They have to figure out their deals with McDuffie, Tooney, and Carl Loftus, 3 significant players. But that was from Spotrac. But that is just a lot. That is just a lot more than they've had probably in prior years too. As you hear, my cat Paige decided to yell in here because she's upset about it too.
Hey, I get it. I mean, she's whining at the potential problems that Kansas City is going to have to solve in the offseason, and a lot of not easy problems to solve there, man. I will just say, I think Worthy is a really good player. I think he helped them a lot in a lot of specific areas. And obviously, he's the most hilarious thing from the box score today because he has 157 yards and 2 touchdowns, and no other Chiefs skill.
I had to double check it when I was researching the notes. I was like, wait a second, did I have the wrong game up?
Yeah. 8 for 8 too. I mean, obviously that one that final play was, there's some backups in there and stuff like that. That 50 yard banger.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, backups. I mean, dude, we got a Kenny Pickett sighting. I joked about what would the Chiefs throw Carson Wentz out there just to get revenge against the Eagles, but no, it was the other backup. Kenny Pickett. We got a freaking Kenny Pickett signing. What are we talking about here? I mean, unbelievable stuff. So yeah, backups in the Super Bowl. Worthy scores that 50-yard touchdown there, which I think saved, Mahomes from the worst efficiency performance of his career on that 50-yard touchdown. So, and again, no other Chiefs player has more than 40 yards rushing or receiving in this game. So Worthy is truly the only guy who made a consistent impact, but statistically made an impact in this game, but he did not make a consistent impact in this game, as we're talking about, especially early on, getting beat up by physical coverage. He's not a guy that you can just isolate one-on-one. I think he's a really, really nice piece. And he's a young player. He can still grow. And he was so critical against some of those man coverage looks, but as I mentioned in the preview show, they have to design those for him. They got to get him, in motion, or they got to get him in the slot. I want to see Kansas City just for once in this era, get serious about the receiver position and get us somebody that isn't a designed player, doesn't have such a clear flaw. Even Rashee Rice, who I think is a great player, he needs to be role catered too. He's not necessarily a guy that you're just going to line up at X receiver and have him go beat press man coverage against physical
crossers and screens.
Crossers and screens, which, by the way, a lot of Worthy, his success late in the season, in the postseason, crossers and screens. So I just want to see someone in this receiver room that can help Patrick Mahomes out instead of like we've got to cater positions to help Patrick Mahomes out. Like it would have just been so nice in this game. Okay, it's a late down. We're 3rd and 8. They're lucky if they're in 3rd and 8. They're 3rd and 8. We know we're going to get quick heat. Like just how about a 10-yard stop route that can get open pretty quickly because this guy, whoever this hypothetical player is, can beat man coverage. Yeah, some gimmies like that. That would be nice.
Yeah, and that's literally what like Paul Chris and stuff would call those routes gimmies, because it's like, hey, take the one-on-one because you don't want to read out the zone coverage, yada yada yada. Yeah. And they don't have any gimmies right now. I thought Kelce as a route runner, he wasn't giving eyes too, and I know they freelance a lot of things, and this is why it's always scary when players freelance throughout their whole careers. When that athleticism drops off, you gotta know how to play in tune. You know how you gotta stay on rhythm. And when you have relied your whole career on being offbeat and sometimes playing in rhythm, but just adding flourishes. I'm trying to avoid a jazz reference here because I know they're playing in New Orleans. But yes, if you play jazz your whole life and you don't know how to read music, wow, all of a sudden you have to read music and it doesn't look so good. And it just felt like even Kelce was just like flummoxed the whole night. Like,
I think it was the first 2-point conversion play where that's exactly what you're talking about, where he's like getting into that thing real slow. Mahomes balls out and he hasn't even like fully gotten to the spot where he's maybe supposed to be, or where Mahomes is anticipating him to be. Because you're right. Like he's always been hey, we'll freelance this thing. He's 2 years into like a decline now at this point. Like he's not sure if he's going to play. Video team's showing a tweet here from Henry McKenna that he's not going to speak to the media today. I sure hope he didn't actually have plans to propose to Taylor Swift like everybody was, making the conspiracy theories about or whatever. Because this certainly was not that kind of night. But yeah, I mean, he's 2 years into this decline now. Like we're talking about a great player, an all-time player. But you're right. He can't get away with some of that stuff at this point.
Nope. It is. And that's what happens. You see it at several positions when this happens. It happens in the NBA, it happens in the NFL, it happens in all sports for guys like this. And that's why it's just weird. It's just, you get so used to it that when it doesn't happen, it goes, it's just a splash of cold water. And again, I want to give shout out to Spags and Chiefs defense. They were really good against the run today. I'm just unbelievable. 0 explosive runs. Saquon only had 4 successful runs the entire day. 4 successful runs on 31 running back attempts. There's only 5 teams that have won a game with a sub 20% rushing success rate in the playoffs. Rams winning the Super Bowl against the Bengals. Eagles beating the Bears in the 2018 wildcard game, this game. Broncos beating the Patriots in the AFC championship game, and the Seahawks beating the Eagles in 2019 in the wildcard of that 2015 Broncos Patriots. So I do want to give credit to that, but let's transition maybe on over to the Eagles, the winners here, because I do want to give them plenty of freaking credit because they were winners and they deserve to be the winners. All the underlying stats with this team. This was a team that could run the ball. This team was an explosive pass offense. Even if it wasn't always perfect, it was explosive. This is the most dominant offensive line in the NFL in some way, shape, or form. This is a defense since Cooper DeJean started for them. So week 4, week 5 was probably the best defense in the NFL in any way, shape, top 3. Any way you shake it. Efficiency, explosiveness. They limit explosive passes. They limit the run game. This is the formula to win the playoffs. And it's one of those things. Even when I was looking at everything, I'm like, this is it. This is the team that looks the part. And it's like, as much as, Jalen Hurts against this, Jalen Hurts against that, they still always find answers. So this Eagles team right now. So free agency wise, Josh Sweat's a free agent. Brandon Graham, who came back tonight, which is kind of cool. Zach Bond, Mekhi Becton. There's a couple plays where Tyler Steen was in there, so I didn't see what happened there. But Mekhi Becton was in there.
Becton was had like a knee injury or something like that.
Yeah, the knee.
He was in the tent for a minute. Yeah.
That's what happens when I'm in a group. I don't hear the commentary. Sorry, Tom, but I wasn't really listening anyways. But yeah, okay. I saw like I saw Steen in there. I was like, whoa. What did I miss? What did I just miss right there? Milton Williams is a free agent, as we talked about plenty of times. Oren Burks. But they have a couple questions to make, but this team is usually in a good spot with their situations. We'll have to figure out who else they're going to bring back, who they're going to tag, yada, yada, yada. But the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, going to 2 Super Bowls in 3 years. How do you feel about them right now? How do you feel about kind of like their situation, their legacy of this team with Sirianni, Hurts? They've had so many he said, she said articles the last couple of years. That's really kind of funny that it's like, oh wow, like if you told me Sirianni was going to get fired before this year, I would have been like, yeah. And then they just won the Super Bowl, and I'm like, yeah. That's what this team kind of feels like. But how do you feel about this franchise right now, Matt, after just coming off a very impressive Super Bowl performance?
One of the best quotes all offseason was from our colleague Frank Schwab, who said on the fantasy show this offseason, you could tell me that the Eagles fired Nick Sirianni before Thanksgiving or that they won the Super Bowl, and I wouldn't be surprised by either. So shout out to Frank for that, because that was a banger of a line. And hey, lucky to Eagles fans, they hit the they hit the right side on that range of outcomes there. But yeah, I mean, even in this game, there was a moment where like AJ Brown and Sirianni were kind of jawing back and forth. But you know, that stuff's just so overrated. Like who cares, man? Like if you're winning games, nobody gives a damn about who's yelling at who or who's reading books on sidelines or any of that nonsense, or like, or who's star receiver comes out and says passing game needs to be better when passing game is barely good enough to beat the freaking Panthers in the middle of the season. Okay, like nobody cares about that stuff when you win games, and when you have when you have really good players, you're going to win games. Like that's the Philadelphia Eagles, and it's a credit to Howie Roseman, who continues to double and triple down at premium positions, but also is smart enough to say, hey, the market has gone too far at the running back position. We have jumped the shark when Gabe Davis and Darnell Mooney are making more money than some of the best running backs in the league. No disrespect to those guys. They're solid players, but like, come on. So again, it's not being, that's what I really like about this team. And what they showed us this offseason is that they're not just, zealots to some kind of, analytics strategy or whatever you want to call it. Like they're smart. Kevin Clark had a really good post from this game where he, from ESPN, of course, our mutual friend, where he said that he went into the Eagles building after the Nick Foles Super Bowl and intended to write like an analytics piece. And somebody within the building laughed at him and said, yeah, we win because we're good in the trenches and everything else comes next. Like that's basically like that's football, man. Like you're strong on both sides of the line. Like this team, you're gonna win games, and you can have these stupid little squabbles like, oh, Nick Sirianni and AJ Brown are squapping back and forth in this game. Oh, well, AJ Brown dumps the damn Gatorade on Nick Sirianni's head with like 2 minutes left in the ball game. That's got to be the first time in Super Bowl history that Gatorade has come out before the 2-minute warning. Like that is, so who cares about any of this stuff?
I know, what was the over? Yeah, it wasn't the color of the Gatorade shower. It was the over under on time left for the Gatorade dump. No, but winning cures all. I mean, and the NFL, and I always love the line, not for long, but because you can apply it to anything. A player's career, a coach's career, a coach being the hot name, the player being the hot name, what trend is working, like what scheme is working, what trend as far as positional value is working. That's what I love about it. I think it was striking to me that the Chiefs were leaning into RPOs this game, the thing that won the Eagles the Super Bowl last time, and they were getting snuffed out. And the Eagles didn't run any RPOs. They just, it's the separation of church and state. We're going to run the ball, we're going to pass the ball. And we're going to just come right down your throat, and we're going to hit big plays on you. And that's our formula. It also helps when you have better players, of course. But that is what it does. And like when you don't overthink things and you just put players in good positions to succeed, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You know how old school zone coverages with twists and games is? That's what won the Bucs the Super Bowl against the Raiders. It's the exact same formula. And shoot, I even know how the offense feels like the exact same formula. And so that is kind of funny that like these things just come, like there's different versions of them, don't get me wrong, but the philosophy of good ball never kind of goes away. And as much as like we want Eagles and Howie Roseman to be like, oh, new age, they're on the trend, the cutting edge, and they are. Yeah. It's just very funny that how much of it comes back to, oh yeah, tackling, blocking, running, stopping the run. Like it's funny that it's like that was what it comes down to, even if you find it in different ways or kind of have new ways to find those advantages. So it's really, I really like Eagles fans kind of got on me because a couple of years ago when they made the Super Bowl run, I kind of was just like, I don't really trust this defense. I don't really trust this. Don't really trust Hurts dropping back. But this Eagles team, this is a deserved Super Bowl winner. There is nothing fluky about this team, obviously with a 40 burger in the Super Bowl, but I just felt throughout the process of the back 2/3 of the year, It's like, this is one of the best teams. This is why they're a Super Bowl candidate. They have awesome coaches right now. And shout out to Kellen Moore, the future Saints head coach, too. I thought he didn't, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but he just didn't do anything stupid. They didn't chase points. They delivered the knockout blow to Devontae Smith, but even leading into that, it was like, hey, this is our game right now. This is the game flow. This is the game script. So when you have good players, good sound coaches, you play good sound ball. This is what it looks like, even if you're playing against the GOAT, like, and one of the best coaches ever. So yeah, hats off to them, everybody in that franchise, all the players, because it's just like a deserved Super Bowl win. I just can't keep coming back to it because I'm just so impressed. Like, I really am. I'm just impressed by how well they were coached and how well this whole team played.
I mean, shoot, Eagles fans getting on you about that Super Bowl a couple years ago. Well, guess what? They didn't win that Super Bowl. Guess what? They win this Super Bowl because this defense is so much better than that unit this year. And I mean, just think about where we were with this defense like a calendar year ago. I mean, they were coming off, miserable performance. Matt Patricia's the coordinator. And they make Matt Patricia the coordinator in like kind of a panic move. So it is an unbelievable turnaround for that side of the ball. And I'm glad that you brought up Kellen Moore. I like that he delivered that twist the knife shot play to Devontae Smith. That was really cool. I thought that things were blocked up well to the points that, like, from a protection plan standpoint, I think they gave Hurts some real good running lanes in the first half. And I mean, even shoot, I know this move is not as like, it's not on the top 5 of Howie Roseman moves in the offseason, but I mean, Jahan Dotson made plays for this team tonight. And obviously, like, I'm a Jahan Dotson guy.
Made one. Like, that's all you need. That's all you need. That matters.
I mean, he had two catches of over 15 plus yards. Like, both of them were explosive, but that first play against man coverage, like you said, and this is a guy that is just like, he's deep into the rotation. I made the joke that when he scored that touchdown against the Packers in the playoffs, what was that? That was the 6-second time to throw play for Jalen Hurts. That's how deep Jahan Dotson is in the progression. I like Dotson.
He's the 6 second.
We'll get to you in 6 seconds.
It's not 1 to 2 to 3. It's 1 second to 2 seconds to 3 seconds to 4 seconds.
All right, we'll check AJ Brown. Cool. We'll take a look at him. That's not there. Think about scrambling. Actually, let's hang back one more second. We've got Devontae Smith. Maybe I could drop off to Saquon Barkley. We got 6 seconds. Oh, wait, let me take one more look at AJ Brown. Okay, no, now I get it to Jahan Dotson. And like I said, I like Dotson.
Time to dust off the ball and throw it in there. Yeah, that's exactly.
Call in an Uber Eats order, something like that, whatever. I don't know. He's got plenty of time back. He's got time to bake his own damn dinner back there. He's got so much time. Anyways, I like Dotson as a player. I think there's a part of me that thinks he could still have like a productive season for a team. But I mean, you're not ever going to prioritize that guy when you have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. But like, again, that was just a flyer that they took, and he's come up with some big plays in the postseason. He came with a huge play that got them down to the goal line to get the first touchdown here. So again, this is another evidence of like, consistently good team building by this operation. I know people say, they gave up a 3rd round pick for him. There are obviously other assets in that trade that, kind of even things out. So whatever, don't be disingenuous with the analysis. And of course, as promised, I said to my people that if the Eagles won the Super Bowl, my first tweet from my account when we hit double zeros would be Jahan Dotson Super Bowl champion. And nobody keeps it. I promises made, promises kept, Nate Tice.
If the Ravens ever won a Super Bowl, I know I want to do the show with you because it's not about Lamar Jackson winning the Super Bowl. It'd be about Rashad Bateman winning the Super Bowl. I know I'm in great company with that.
What a sick freak I am, but whatever.
Can Desmond Ridder get one? No. All right. So
okay.
Looking into next year, the Eagles are the betting favorites to win the Super Bowl next year at plus 650 on BetMGM. The Ravens are 7-1 plus 700. The Bills are plus 750, 7.5 to 1. The Chiefs are also 7.5 to 1, and the Lions are 8.5 to 1. Oh, funny. 49ers are 6th, even though they missed the playoffs at 13 to 1. You agree that the Eagles should be the favorites going into next year? This is kind of how we'll close this out. Do you consider them? Maybe the better question is, who do you consider the favorites to win it next year? Or do you think the Eagles are going to go back to back?
I mean, I think this team certainly could do it because they are really strong at premium positions. And I mean, obviously, yes, they do have questions on the defensive line. What are we doing with Sweat, who was just magnificent in this game? What are we doing with Milton Williams? I think Williams is probably going to end up, getting $20+ million a year from the Carolina Panthers, something like that. But can we bring?
I'm really curious who he ends up with.
Hey, Carolina, pick up the phone. You guys need help, okay? So again, and there's so many teams, that have just a boatload of cap room. Some of these guys are going to get poached, but man, I have a lot of. If we're going to sit here and say, you know what, we got to have faith in the Chiefs because they have Patrick Mahomes, they have Andy Reid, they're always in the spot. They can get back here. We also have to say the exact same thing about the Philadelphia Eagles and okay, they'll figure out the trench problem because they always do, because they always churn and burn at that spot. And even if they make some swings, like Bryce Huff or whatever, things don't always work out perfectly for them. They're always strong in that spot. So I have faith there. And I do kind of want to talk about Jalen Hurts here for a second. I mentioned this to Greg Rosenthal on the fantasy show this week that I think he's gotten because I would say he's the weak link of this roster, and that's only because this roster is so good. If you just think of, okay, he's not bad. That is objectively.
I do not think he is bad. He's just the weak link. It's a different story.
And that's freaking awesome. If the weak link of your roster is a guy who is, I don't know, a top 10 quarterback in the league, top 12, something like that. Sort of
top. I'll give him top half.
Sure,
but just still
whatever.
Yeah.
We'll put it this way: inarguably, top half of the league quarterback is your weak point of your team. Because you have a Hall of Fame running back talent, you have an elite wide receiver who is playing alongside of a guy in Devontae Smith who could be a number one receiver for somebody else. Your offensive line is one of the most badass units in the league, and your defense is the best defense in the NFL. Something's got to be weak link. So I guess it's Jalen Hurts. Okay, but that's still a guy that has incredible strengths. He doesn't do some of the things, Nate, that I think people like you and I who watch a lot of film and we love to see. I know I'll speak for myself here. Love to see guys operate over the middle and man, you can drop back in the pocket and rip a deep dig against zone coverage and fit that thing in a pinpoint hole. He doesn't do that stuff, but what he does do really well. So I think they have stability at the quarterback position, and they have a guy who will be on his fourth coordinator in 4 years from an offensive standpoint. But the system is the system. Jalen Hurts,
any quarterback ever, man. I know, even if it is his offense, quote unquote. I do not envy that for anybody. But yeah, keep going. Sorry.
No, it's just that. The thing is that we've seen in Philadelphia that you do have to have a guy who can push the right buttons, right? We did this previously when Shane Steichen moved on. It's Brian Johnson, just promote from within, no problem. It's not always that easy. You do have to have a guy who knows when to hit the right buttons, but so much of the offense always becomes the Jalen Hurts offense that I think that because of that, and because there's so much stability on that offensive side, I think we can feel pretty good about them being the favorite right now to get back here.
I like that. I like that you also brought up the trench reinvestment, I would say, or at least that Howie goes, hey, if I can't get anyone, I'll draft trenches. If I don't get my BPA, I'll go trenches, which is a philosophy that I believe in, which again is so funny that Howie Roseman gets kind of labeled as one guy and how much he believes in the trenches, which is yeah, exactly. World theory, globe theory. But you look at them and it just, so they replenish that. And even on defense, okay, we talked about Sweat, okay, Milton Williams and everything. There's Jalix Hunt making plays. There's a next rookie or next second year guy. Milton Williams was one of these guys last year. He really started flashing in the second half of the year. He didn't start many games, but he was getting a lot more churn last year. That's a franchise building. That is team building. That is just depth. And we think of depth as a stop gaps guy, stepping in for injuries. Yeah. Depth is guys you grow behind the starters. That's what you ideally do. It's easier said than done. Helps when you have an offensive line coach that's been there over a decade. Helps when you have a GM that's been there over a decade. Well, even way longer than that. But depending on the power struggle, it's how
in the GM title or not in the broom closet or whatever.
In some way, shape, or form. But no, what you said about Hurts is that even though he's the weak link, if he plays like this, you can't beat this team or this version of the team, because with Hurts, again, there's one scramble he had on third down. And it was an odd mirror coverage, which is when they rush three and two linebackers one takes the running back depending on where he goes, and the other one becomes a de facto QB spy. And Hurts went to his first read, and it wasn't that hitch, and he went pause. I'm going to look around, and he looked at his first read, and he goes, "That's not open. Screw it. I'm getting north." And I was fired up because that I like as a former quarterback and quarterback coach, I was like, heck yeah. Because he trimmed out all the fat. That's the make a mistake, make it fast. But it wasn't making a mistake. It was, no, I'm playing fast. I know what I'm seeing right now. Like, and that's why I'm going for that. So that's why I was like, yes, Hurts has some frustrations as a thrower. You just mentioned like throwing in the middle. Yes, he's not idealistically how I like a perfect quarterback to play. But if his strengths are that strong like they were today, then it's very, very hard to beat. If he plays like that and they figure out these questions, they got depth coming in. Yes, they might have a drop off depending on what they do. They have their picks. They have ways in how he's so creative and figuring out guys. I mean, this is a team that went and got Mekhi Becton to fill in at right guard. And did he drop off in the playoffs? Yes, a little bit. But man, they got a guy that was a needle mover in some games. It's like just little things like that add up. These are the percentage points that add up. And that's what the Eagles just keep doing. All right. Well, actually, I was figuring that the Eagles' thoughts would maybe close this out, but do you have anything on Kendrick Lamar? I had a very, very funny moment when at the group I was hanging out with, my friend, his dad was there at the party, and they were like, kind of busting his balls a little bit. And they're like, do you know anything about this? Like, Kendrick Lamar or Drake or anything? He goes, oh, I heard about it on NPR. I lost my mind. I laughed so hard at that.
Often where I go to get my I go to get my rap news, NPR.
My beef takes. That's where I get. Yeah. That's where I get them from. That's where I get my rap beef takes. This is from NPR. But no, any thoughts on that?
But you know what? That's actually a great way to put it into context. Is that, man, this is such big news. And it was such a big story when it was going on, the Kendrick and Drake beef, that it reached NPR. Like NPR and some guy's dad, is aware of this. Shout out to the dads out there. But that's how big this was. And I mean, who had I tweeted this at halftime, quote tweeting your pressure stat, like, who had a worse time tonight, Patrick Mahomes under all that pressure or Drake? I mean, and I think when the entire Superdome and perhaps the vast majority of the nation rings out in unison A minor, I think Drake had a pretty bad night.
I think he did too.
If we're doing winners and losers from the Super Bowl, I think he's got to be in the losers category. So, like, regardless of what you thought about, because of course I post that, and then a bunch of people have to tell me what they think about like Kendrick Lamar's performance.
Yeah, I know, right.
Could not care less about your opinions.
They're talking about Mike. I think I saw a tweet about Mike volumes in your replies there. You're like, I don't care. Like, I don't care about that. I'm just here to make a joke. All right, that's all I'm here to do. But yeah, when you got Serena Williams like crip walking and you got your Drake L being held there, that's a pretty tough look for Drake. So yeah, big L there, regardless of what you think about the halftime performance overall. Yeah, I think I replied to this. Yeah, they had the same amount of hits coming at him. Mahomes and Drake did. They were both getting pelted on that. I thought about that a few weeks ago because they were advertising. I think it was an NFC Championship game, and they were advertising that Kendrick Lamar was playing, and they went out with Not Like Us, and it was just kind of like, oh, that must be brutal. You're just watching the game.
Yeah. Do you think he watched? Do you think Drake watched?
Yeah, he watched. Did he post any bets? He loves to post his losers. He that's like one of his favorite things. Is post his terrible.
Post the loser. How about a selfie?
Yeah. We're wrapping it out today.
hey, one more thing before we get out of here. And I'm saying this. I'm gonna say this for you, Nate. If any losers get in your mentions, when you're because you're about to do mock drafts, and you've been doing mock drafts.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, but now they're real because the Eye of Sauron has moved from the season to the draft. Yeah, so now they're real.
Sorry, I know that might have been like I should have given you a trigger warning. Work incoming, mock drafts incoming. If any losers get in your mentions,
top 100 big board.
I'm sure the requests are coming. Don't check your email after the show. They're probably already there. If any losers get in Nate's mentions about like, oh, come on, give me a more exciting pick than a D tackle or a defensive lineman, go ahead and pop this game in one more time. Pop this game in one more time. Because I feel like that is the classic, like, give my team a more exciting pick than a defensive lineman or whatever. Like, oh, come on. watch the Philadelphia Eagles take down, one of the best quarterbacks that we've ever seen play the game. Yeah, go ahead and watch that one more time.
Yeah, first rounder going undrafted free agent. As Charles likes to always point out, blue chip theory does apply. It does. It matters. Coaching does matter a ton in the NFL, but talent level and pedigree does matter as well. As much as we love the undrafted guys and the day 3 guys coming in, when they have to step up, there's a reason everyone was drafted in their certain spots. The Eagles seem to be hitting on a lot of their guys, maybe not all of them, but a lot more than others. And that's why they are the Super Bowl 59 champions, winning 40-22, a proper 40 burger, a proper 40 Philly cheesesteak. That doesn't really flow as well. But yes, they are the champions. Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl MVP. Shout out to Nick Sirianni. Did we even say his name? Shout out to Kellen Moore. Shout out to Vic Fangio. Shout out to Howie Roseman. Shout out to Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. Name the all pros, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Name their defense, but really just a tremendous season. Winning the division, winning the title, having great performances in the playoffs. I just was very, very impressed, and well-deserved win, well-deserved Super Bowl, and props to Eagles fans. I'm sure we will hear plenty from them in the future. I already got staked out for my cold pepper over Hurts take, so we'll see how that kind of goes for the next 24 hours. But also, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for listening to Football 301 this season. We're taking the leap of faith with us over here at Yahoo. We have a great staff here. Matt and Charles have been so much fun to work with this season. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us. And I just really want to say thank you. I mean, this is just so much fun to do. I'm glad this is our job. So it was great seeing you, Matt, in New Orleans. Great seeing Chuck in New Orleans. Great seeing the whole staff working their butts off on our set. The Yahoo set was amazing. Kind of felt a really, really great moment of culminating the whole season into that, doing all the shows there and interviews there. But I just really want to say thank you, everyone, to listening for us. It's just made our job so much fun. And thank you for all the staff, everybody. I mean, Madison, Stone, Audie, shoot, Brett, everybody, Colin, list goes on and on. Everybody that has helped us out, everybody at Yahoo, you, Matt, Charles, wherever you're at, it could be anywhere right now. Also, thanks to him. Truly, the man of the people, my guy. But no, it's so much. And I want to talk to you right here, guys, that are watching right now live, but also listening on the podcast form. It's been so much fun this year, and I want to keep it going. We're going to have so much fun stuff with the draft, with free agency. We'll probably take a deep breath this week, but we are closing it out today. We will be back later. And then we get into silly season. Are you ready for some quarterback talk for the next few months? It's going to be it's going to be interesting. I know. I don't know, Rick. I don't know if I can handle this quarterback talk if I don't have him graded as a first rounder. This is gonna be real rough. But
I'm gonna be hiding behind you for all this stuff, man. I'm gonna be just you push you in front of the fire here.
I am excited for the draft show. We will be doing that, which is going to be a ton of fun, but that's in a couple months. But yes, we have some great stuff coming to you guys. Thank you all for checking out Football 301. I am Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Matt, where can they check you out? What do you got next? I don't even know what you're going to do next. We got rookie reception perception prospects. I don't know what I won't put anything on your plate because I don't know what you have committed right now.
Oh yeah, no, you can find me Matt Harmon _BYB. I'm going to the combine for the first time this year. So some content from there. That'll be fun. And we'll see. Yeah. I mean, don't get too sad about not seeing me, Nate. You're going to see me again in like 2 weeks. So I think I am. I'll throw this out here. I think I'm going to change some plans. Usually I start charting the free agents before the prospects. I think I'm gonna flip that up a little bit so I can have an educated opinion about these receivers when we're out in Indy yapping about some of these players. So that's coming up, and I want to echo everything you said. Thank you so much to the audience and to everybody supported us here. It was so much fun to do this show all season, and I'm looking forward for more, man. It's great.
Great. It's only just begun. But no, I am Nate Tice. You don't need to hear me sing anymore. I'm going to wrap this up. Send those mailbag questions. We'll be getting to a lot of them soon. Football 301 mailbag at yahoosports.com. Also, you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, and you'll jump the line if you give us, are nice enough nice enough to give us 5 stars. But yes, those emails are great. Reviews are even better. Subscribe to us, follow us, rate us, do all that good stuff. Watch us on YouTube, on the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. Hopefully we got some more live content coming. This was a great little test run, a lot of fun. A super show for a super game, kind of, in theory, a Super Bowl, I guess is a better way to do it. But like I said before, thank you to everyone behind the scenes. We'll be together at the Combine. We'll have some stuff over the next coming weeks, free agency, draft, all that good stuff. Thank you all for checking us out. Thank you for listening. See you guys next time.